So, Apple's event, along with their watches and AirPods, got announced today, and I wanted to cover some of the most important things that you might be interested in. You know what else you might be interested in? Our sponsor, Nobody. Let's talk about the iPhones first, since that's what most people are interested in this time of the year. We have the iPhone 16 and 16 Plus. The starting price is $799 for the regular 16 model, $899 if you want the bigger screen, and much better battery life on the Plus model. I'm happy Apple has kept the price the same, but don't get too excited because these are the base models after all, and we're still getting 60 Hz refresh rate. People might call me a tech snob for that, but $800 for 60 Hz on a smartphone at this point, I'd argue, is kind of insane, especially in 2024. But build quality wise, we still have an aluminum frame, so it's going to be lighter than the Pro variants, but do keep in mind it's also going to be prone to scratches, so highly recommend picking up a case. MagSafe does get an upgrade to Qi 2, meaning faster wireless charging. MagSafe, we get up to 25 watts, but with the regular Qi 2 charging, it's up to 15 watts. Do want to make that distinction there. Something I don't think Apple would have ever done on their devices is put Wi-Fi 7, but it's here on the iPhone 16. So if you have Wi-Fi 7 throughout your house or your business, hey, iPhone 16 can support it. We also have the action button that only existed on the Pro models last year, so I'm happy that it's made its way to the regular base models. We do have new colors. They're black, white, pink, teal, and ultramarine, which I would argue is the best color. The OnePlus 8 Pro back in the day had an ultramarine blue color, and that was one of my favorite colors of all time on a smartphone. So we'll have to see how Apple measures with the iPhone 16. Now, I usually don't care too much about the camera when it comes to smartphones, but I do want to kind of talk a little bit more in depth about the camera upgrades that we have on the iPhone 16 because there is a new button on the iPhone again, and it's called camera control. And the button has a coating of sapphire crystal, so it's going to be pretty good and resistant against scratches and whatnot. And what happens is if you click this button, it actually launches the camera app instantly. So for people who are wondering about the action button, you can actually have that to be something else altogether now that we have the camera control button. But a quick click snaps a photo, a regular long press starts recording a video, and you can do light presses, and that will actually bring up the small menu, and that can actually swipe between your different controls with the zoom, exposure, depth, and just other camera controls as well. To me, it seems pretty intuitive, and I would say it probably makes taking photos that much better instead of using the volume button. But hey, we have a new dedicated button when it comes to the camera side of things. It also looks like that the regular camera app is getting a complete overhaul as well with all these different changes. And talking a little bit more about the lenses, the main camera is what Apple calls their new Fusion camera. So it's essentially two cameras in one because it now offers a 2x optical zoom without having a dedicated telephoto lens. So on the Pro models, we always have an ultra wide, a main camera, and then a telephoto lens. But with this Fusion camera, Apple is basically claiming that you can have 2x optical zoom without having a dedicated lens. From my perspective, it's a step up from regular digital zoom, but not quite an actual lens solely for zoom. We also get a new ultra-wide camera with improved autofocus and low light performance, so macros shots are going to be better, but overall, ultra-wide shots are going to be better. For people who own or who will own the Apple Vision Pro, you can now capture spatial audio and video, so that's going to be a nice, I guess, feature for people who are going to be using the Apple Vision Pro. On the software side, however, which I think looks cool, is the next-gen photographic styles, and it has more control over what you want to showcase in your images. There's much more customization, such as color, highlights, shadow, skin undertones, and it just seems like a more fleshed out feature than just the filter styles that we had in the past. And to top it off, it does all this in real time before you take the photo. So Apple is saying this is color grading in real time, and I have to say, with all this being on a smartphone, it's pretty impressive. There's also something else called Audio Mix, which has distinct audio profiles for what you want to capture. Just to name a few, they have something called In-Frame Mix, which retains only audio that is actually in the frame. So if there's background noise and stuff going on, it's not going to capture that. There's Studio Mix, which eliminates background noise, which might help for my new studio here. And then the Cinematic mode or the mix brings vocals more towards the front.
The in-frame mix isolates the voice of the person on camera so you don't lose that perfect take.
No, it's your grandma's bunk cake. Yeah, okay, that's very funny. All right.
Studio Mix gives the effect of a recording in a professional studio, complete with sound dampening walls,
Is that what I think
effectively
it is?
eliminating reverb.
No, it's your grandma's bunt
Pancakes
cakes.
times two.
Yeah, okay, that's very funny. All right.
Enjoy.
And Cinematic Mix handles voices like in movies, with the vocal track positioned in the front
Is that what I think it is?
No, it's your grandma's bunt
Pancakes.
cakes.
and environmental noises
Yeah, okay,
in the
that's very
surround.
funny. All right.
Enjoy.
It's really nice that Apple's kind of doubling down and spending more time in the camera app and giving us more creative control on what we can do and not just giving us a pretty, basic camera app and we have to use the Final Cut app. But that's besides the point. Going back to the features on the new iPhone 16, we have this new feature that's kind of like Google Lens, but Apple is saying it's coming out later this year. All you have to do is, pick up your phone, snap a photo, and then snap a photo of an object or a place, and then Siri or Apple Intelligence will tell you what it is. It might even bring up a browser result of the restaurant, the menu reviews, stuff like that. So expect that from the camera app. Going back to more of the hardware side of the things, Apple's also promising bigger batteries, so hopefully that equals better battery life. Apple has generally been good year over year, having improvements in the battery department, but this year they are really focusing in on it. Not only that, they talked about better heat dissipation and easier battery repair. So not really sure what that means. I don't know if that means that the price for fixing the back of the iPhone or the battery replacement on 16 models and above is going to drop. Or for customers who want to replace their battery, is it going to take less tools and things of that nature to replace your battery? Only iFixit will know. Wait for their article. Trust me. In the battery department though, they are claiming 2 extra hours of video playback compared to the 15 and a total of 18 hours of streaming video constantly, which I would say is pretty impressive if those claims are true. The processor is now the A18. Long story short, more power, better energy efficiency, the Apple drill. And that pretty much means that the iPhone 16 can handle those AAA games that were pretty much exclusive to those Pro models, but it's going to be more performant on this A18 model. Now, let's talk about the big buzzword nowadays, AI. Apple Intelligence. It's first rolling out in the US regions, and just think of it as Siri on steroids and improvements to iOS overall. It can rewrite your emails to sound more professional, automatically prioritize your notifications, which I really want to check out, and even generate custom emojis based on your descriptions. Siri's getting smarter too, understanding your requests better and following along even if you stumble over your words, which I have a pretty hard time on. Check out the bloopers in this video. But with all that, once again, at $799 and $899 respectively, I'm pretty happy with these upgrades. I know a lot of the tech community doesn't care too much about the base iPhones, but the base iPhones this year seem pretty good. And I do think people from like the iPhone 11 all the way up to even the 14 might jump to the iPhone 16 solely just based off of USB-C alone. So moving up to the Pro models, the iPhone 15 Pro was already pretty good, so I'd say there's not much improvement on the 16 Pro side of things. Color-wise, instead of the blue, we have a desert titanium, which is a finish of what I think is gold. Another thing I wasn't expecting Apple to do was make bigger phones, especially after trying out the Mini years ago, but both models are 0.2 inches bigger than the 15 series, so the 16 Pro Max is going to come in at 6.9 inches, which is, I'm gonna come out here and say, I think that's too big for a smartphone. Hardware-wise, we have the A18 Pro chip, the Qi 2, the camera button is there, the improved battery life, audio mixing, Apple Intelligence, Wi-Fi 7. A lot of the things that I talked about with the iPhone 16 is here on the iPhone 16 Pro. But the cameras also got an upgrade exclusively on the Pro lineup. So we still have that Fusion camera here on the iPhone 16 Pro models, but we still have that dedicated telephoto lens. So if you want to zoom in farther, you're going to have a lens for that. There's also a new ultra-wide lens as well that makes its way over to the Pro. And I'd say one of the most notable things about the camera segment in the entire 16 Pro lineup is the cinematic slow mode, which allows you to record up to 4K 120 in ProRes, log, HDR, and Dolby Vision. So you can go from 24, 25, 30, 60, 100, and 120 frames per second. And if you want to capture that in a high frame rate, you can actually play back all the way down in those different segments down to 24 frames per second. That's a lot. I know. They also had a statement about Academy color encoding system on the Pro models, which I believe the 15 Pros already had. But something Apple didn't mention is they have 4 studio quality mics on the 16 Pro now. So if it's anything like their MacBook models, speakers, or not speakers, microphones, the 16 Pro is going to have nice microphones when it comes to recording video. They also made a point about the voice memos. You can actually layer your voice memos now. So for example, in the demonstration that they showed, if you were listening to a song and you wanted to do a quick vocal over it because you don't want to lose that inspiration you had, you can do it right there on the voice memo. So it'll play from the speaker, but you can still record and it won't actually interfere with anything. Forgot to mention that the display on the Pro models are the thinnest on any iPhone. Want to make sure to point that out. So that's the iPhones pretty much. To me, the 16, the regular 16 stole the show. They will probably outsell the Pro models this year. The Pro 16 lineup, I would say, are decent upgrades. If you have a 15 Pro, even a 14 Pro, probably wouldn't care too much. I do like how Apple is slowly starting to become less basic and more creative centric in the camera side of things. So hopefully they can do that for the upcoming futures. Now, the wearable section. I'll start with the AirPods because that's, I think, what most people care about compared to the watch. So there is the AirPods 4 and the AirPods 4 active noise canceling. Doesn't seem like there's any new hardware with the AirPod Pros 2, and the AirPod Max now comes with USB-C, finally. So starting off with the AirPods Pro 2, probably the most popular ones, they will get a major software update that will be more focused towards people's hearing. So if you have mild or moderate hearing loss, Apple has this new software that will actually act as hearing aids to boost sounds for an individual. So instead of, I guess, buying medical grade stuff that is pertaining to hearing aids, you can actually just use your AirPod Pros, which I think would be pretty great for a lot of people. There's also a test that you can do that can help, I guess, understand or figure out if you have hearing loss, and then it will calibrate the hearing aid that you need and also provides protection as well. Should be delivered in over 100 countries, so expect a worldwide release in the upcoming fall. The AirPod 4s have a bit of a redesign. There's a regular one that comes in at $129 and the active noise canceling that comes out at $179. And the main difference between the two is the adaptiveness of what it can hear. So things like conversation awareness. So this feature already exists on the AirPod Pros, but basically when you start talking, if you're listening to music, it'll lower the music or the sounds that you're listening to and switch to transparency mode. And then after it detects that you're not talking or having a conversation, it'll switch back to the original mode and the original volume that you were in. It's a pretty nice feature if I do say so myself. There's also something called adaptive mode, which adjusts the volume and the mode that you're in based on your surroundings. And on the AirPod 4 active noise canceling side, the case itself works with Apple Watch chargers. It has a speaker that helps with Find My, which I think is pretty clutch. But in terms of sound, I don't think anyone really has a conclusive testing on if there's a difference between the AirPod 4s and the AirPod 4's active noise canceling because it hasn't been released yet. But I'd argue if you really want active noise canceling that bad, I would just say spend that extra $20 if you're here in the States, because I've seen it at various retailers. The AirPod Pros 2 drop to like $199, sometimes even $169, and the AirPod Pros 2 would be more future-proof and give you more features than just the regular AirPod 4s. Unless the AirPod Pros 2, the ear tips don't fit in your ear, then I would say go with the AirPod 4s. Lastly, the AirPod Max gets 5 new colors and USB-C. I'll leave it there because I expected Apple to do more with the AirPod Maxes, but hey, guess Sony and Bose are just running the show in the over-the-ear category. Maybe next time. All right, last up is the Apple Watch. So there's no new Apple Watch Ultra, which I would say is great news for Ultra fans, other than it comes in black now. I might pull the trigger, but that $799 price tag on a watch is still kind of making me hold off for a bit. We do have new bands as well, and I'd just say software updates will make your watch better than what was out before, hopefully, for Ultra fans. And to finally wrap up this entire recap, we have the Apple Watch Series 10. 10th anniversary, I guess, for the Apple Watch series. We have a new design, comes in 42 millimeters and 46 millimeter. It goes to 2000 nits in brightness, so it's basically kind of pushing at the ultra in terms of how bright the display can get. So it's nice to see that we don't have to splurge $800 to get the ultra to get a bright display on a watch now. The other thing I want to mention is the wide angle OLED, which it seems Apple just loves experimenting with OLED these days. So the wide angle OLED is kind of optimizing each pixel to emit more light at wider angles. So it seems OLED across the industry is getting over the hurdle of those brightness limitations with these new discoveries. And if you didn't understand anything I just said, your watch will be brighter than before. That's all you need to know. So we get a faster charging. I think it's like 33 or like something percent. I'll have it somewhere on the screen, faster than the previous generation. It's more sleek design. They're saying it's more luxurious, more like jewelry, more power and more energy efficient, typical in Apple fashion. Another health update, it's sleep apnea, which is a condition where breathing stops during your sleep, and Apple's able to detect this using the accelerometer to monitor movements that seem irregular if you were breathing normally during your sleep. So none of this is used for medical diagnosis. Please do keep that in mind, but consult your doctor if you actually do think you have sleep apnea. This might be a guide or, a pointer of, what you might potentially have, but don't take it as conclusive evidence. The feature is there for you if you want a bit more insight on your breathing at night. Other things that are in the Series 10 watch is the depth features that were kind of locked away on the Apple Watch Ultra makes its way to the Series 10. So we have a new depth sensor, new temperature sensor. The built-in depth app is also here, and there's a new tides app as well. So if you're a person who likes to go out to the ocean, Apple will give you the tides, and you can kind of determine whether you want to go out. I've never really surfed, so I don't really know what I'd use the app for, but hey, it's there. The water temperature is also displayed during your swim workout. So if you're swimming in the pool and you want to check out what the temperature actually is, the watch is able to detect that with the new temperature sensor. So seems like the Series 10 is a solid upgrade, especially if you spend more time in the water. To me, seems like a no-brainer if you do that. Also, Hermes still costs about an arm and a leg and about 100 YouTube ads if 1 million people watched my video. That's my wrap up. Hopefully you guys find this video informative. Appreciate every single sub, like, and comment. Get subscribed if you want to watch hands-on content on the upcoming devices. I will be doing comparisons on much older devices like the iPhone 11, iPhone 12, because I think that group of people are really going to be upgrading to the iPhone 16. So I'll do a comparison between the two. Appreciate every single sub, like, and comment. And as always, guys, much love. By the way, a lot of these news outlets are saying Apple is tanking, their stock is tanking, but year to date, their stock is up 19%. And then let's be honest, they have a 3.36 trillion market cap with a 25% net profit. Apple is chilling, guys. Apple is chilling. Wake up tomorrow morning, I bet you their stock is going to be up. I'm out. Pretty feature rich. Pretty feature rich, if I do say so myself. Let's talk about the iPhones first, since that's what most people are interested in. Always make sure to get a case, because that aluminum is going to scratch. If you guys know anything about ultramarine, Apple Intelligence. It's first, so it can do things like rewrite your emails to sound. It can read